Hey, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair, and this is Streaming Idiots. If you thought you were getting something else, sorry to disappoint you. You've found your way to Streaming Idiots. What is Streaming Idiots? Streaming Idiots. What is streaming, you say? I'm sorry, you got to change the channel right here. No, I'm teasing. We are having a great time today. We've had a super pre-show with our guest, Jim Jacobs. We'll introduce him to you in just a moment and chat with some of the folks that showed up early just to hang out and chit-chat. Really excited because today, I started in the middle again. Sorry about that. We are delighted that you're here. Streaming Idiots, we're on every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern, and we talk about live streaming. All sorts of live streaming, whether it's sports or churches or civic events or you name it. We want to help you do the best you can in streaming those things. Sometimes you have to start out small before you can get big. Our guest today, he's getting big in terms of a trailer and a studio and all that other kind of stuff. I can see him snickering over there in the green room right now. But he's figured out some things, and so you're going to want to bring out your notepad and take some notes because he's going to share them with you. But before we do that, every day is a new day. And I woke up this morning to find out not only had vMix just introduced vMix .99, which I thought was pretty cool, 99, Get Smart, all that kind of stuff. And today they roll out .100. And .100, and there's been rumors for a while that vMix was going to incorporate. They've got that vMix social thing. It's a free app that you can get that will plug into vMix, Facebook, and Twitter, and will bring in an IRC chat as well. And they had 4 spaces on this app, and they had the Twitter, they had the Facebook, they had the IRC, and then they had one blank one. I think they called it Demo. Well, Demo now is Instagram. That's right. You can incorporate an Instagram, either your Instagram feed or an Instagram based on a keyword into your broadcast. How cool is that going to be? We're going to demo that next week. Didn't have time to put a demo together on it today because, it just came out this morning. Give me a break. But the guys down at vMix, and I say down because they're down in Australia, and that's down for us. Those guys put together a quick video to talk about that. So rather than blunder around and try to explain it, I'm going to let them explain it to you. And we're actually going to use a feature in vMix 17 called the web browser input. And so what I've done is I've queued up a YouTube video that is on the vMix YouTube channel. And so I'm going to bring that in, and then I'm going to take my mouse over here and click the go button. And I might have to do some audio adjustment because I forgot to try this earlier. But so let's just see if it works first time out of the box. Yeah, there we go.
Hi everyone. Today in this changelog video, we're going to look at vMix 17.0.0.99 and 0.100. Now in these videos, we cover the incremental changes that happen to the vMix versions. So there are major updates between 16, 17, 18, but there are smaller incremental changes in each version. Okay, so for 0.99, we've updated to the latest version of NDI, which improves performance, and there's a few fixes for quality issues and with desktop capture. Now we've also added support for some different MIDI controls, and we've also added support for X keys, XK12 jog and shuttle support, and X keys XK12 joysticks. Now these are good. The jog and shuttle probably good for instant replay, and the joystick is good for PTZ control if you want to do that with vMix 17. Okay, so there have been some additional fixes for NVIDIA Optimus laptops, and also a couple of other bug fixes. Due to the NDI update, the vMix desktop capture has also been updated. Now, we thought we'd include something pretty cool for vMix 17.0.0.100. And we've had a lot of people ask for it, and we finally implemented it into vMix, and that is Instagram support for vMix Social. Now, you probably see on the left-hand corner here, we've got our vMix Instagram running. And so when you load up the latest version of vMix, 100, you'll have the new version of vMix Social 2.0. Now, I can show you here. As you can see, the demo has been removed and replaced with IRC, and Instagram has now gone in its place. So it's very similar to Facebook and Twitter. You just need to click on the icon, log into Instagram, and then you can choose what feed type you want. So you can either select a username or use a hashtag here. So we've already loaded up our vMix HD account. So as you can see, works very similar to the way that you have Twitter and Facebook, and you can select it, add it to the queue, same way, and then head back over to vMix, and then we can overlay it. So there you go. That's our new vMix 17.0.0.100 release. If you have any questions or anything, you can leave them below. You can upgrade today. If you ever wonder about any updates to vMix, you can check out our forum or go to changelog.vmix.com for all the latest updates, or follow us on Twitter and maybe even Instagram now. Thanks.
All right, that was Tim, no doubt. I had an opportunity to actually go out to dinner with Tim in Las Vegas, and he is a delightful young man and just brilliant, as all the folks at vMix are, and he is the creator of most of the video clips that come out of there, from what I understand. And of course, he and Martin go way back in the video clip world. In fact, I understand they each have kind of an archive of videos that show the other one that they're holding back just in case they need it for the future. Oh my goodness, what a bunch of characters. But the Instagram thing could be really big. And you know, there are two things about it. One is the Instagram thing itself, but the second is the fact that vMix is not content to sit there and rest on its laurels. Yes, vMix has got, what do you call that stuff? NDI? Yeah, that's it, NDI. vMix has got NDI. vMix was, other than TriCaster, which of course created NDI, vMix is the first software, live production software, to have NDI incorporated in it. In fact, there are others, notably Wirecast, that don't have it yet even. You know, vMix has got Facebook Live, it's got YouTube Live, it's got the ability to do all that stuff. Now has added Instagram. Of course, it already had the vMix Social with Facebook and Twitter. These guys are not content to just sit back and rest and say, okay, we got it. You know, we're now a household name. We don't have to try harder anymore. They've been in that old, what was it, the old Hertz commercial, or maybe it was Avis, I don't remember, from the 60s, we try harder. Well, that's what these guys are doing. Every day it seems like they're thinking about what can we do to improve our product, what can we do to help people understand our product, learn how to use our product. Very impressed, very impressed. So vMix gets a big thumbs up from me. Another big thumbs up from me is our special guest today. Jim Jacobs, our guest, has been in the, well, I'm not going to steal his thunder. Let's get Jim in on it. Jim, welcome to the show. Oh, let me make sure I got your audio ready to go, because I'm prone to do that. It's got to be one of these audios in here somewhere. How about that one? Let's try that one. Jim,
yes,
are you with us?
yeah.
There he is. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, thanks,
welcome.
Tom, and appreciate the invite, and glad we could finally work each other's schedules out so we could be on with you.
Well, I'm delighted you're here. In all of the world, and we've got folks watching us today, live from Nepal and from Germany and from different places in Europe, and of course in the U.S. I think somebody even got up early in the morning, Thursday morning in Australia. But Jim's just right up the road. Now, he's not as close as Reeltown, but you're just right up in Anniston, Alabama.
Yep.
That's the southern part of the United States, in case you guys are wondering. And technology really does exist in Alabama.
Yes, it does. In fact, let me tell my how I found Tom Sinclair story real
Oh,
quick.
golly. Oh, geez.
I stumbled across the show, just probably doing a YouTube search or something.
Yeah.
And the first time I watched and I saw the Eastern Shore Broadcasting, and there was something said during the show that for some reason gave me the impression you were in New Jersey.
Oh.
And I thought, wait a minute, this guy doesn't sound like he's from New Jersey. So, of course, I searched you out and then found out, gosh, this guy's just right down the road in Fairhope, Alabama. Let's go to the beach.
That's right. That's right. That's great. That's great. It is kind of funny. I had somebody call me a couple of weeks ago from Mobile, which of course is just right across the bay from me.
Yep.
And they were doing literally an international search to find the right software to use for their church service, and linked up with me through another company. I was on their website as a reseller, a company out of Europe. And they saw the phone number had a 251 area code. They said, well, that's here. So, yeah, it is really, really, really funny. Now, Jim, your background is radio.
Well, was radio.
What? Right. Okay.
My career path, Tom, going into my senior year in high school, I had no clue what I wanted to do.
Now, hold on. Senior year in high school, that would have been about
20 something. No, it was 1975. I remember it well.
Oh, you're a young guy. Okay.
Well, I'm not that young. I think I turned 59 in a couple of months, so that's not young by my standards, but I still try to
Younger
live.
than me.
Yeah. Anyway, so I had a guy come to a career deal at school who was actually running a broadcasting school in Knoxville, Tennessee. And man, I got the radio bug after hearing this guy. I mean, it was like the voice of God. And, from that point on, all I wanted to do was work in a radio station. And I went to college, but I also went to the broadcasting school up in Knoxville. And by the time I was in my junior year in college, I was working full-time in radio, making more money than most people that I knew. And, of course, little did I know how volatile the industry was, but that just made me think, why do I need to finish college? So I dropped out of college and worked in radio, and basically have done that ever since. I mean, knock on wood, I was lucky in most cases I was never out of a job, which is most people in radio can't say.
Yeah, that's true in the local market. I recognize that. Well, all right. So you worked in radio,
Mm-hmm.
and then you advanced through the system to the point where you had your own station.
Right. Basically, I worked on the programming side of the industry for probably the first 5 or 6 years that I worked in it as a career. And then I kind of figured out that if you want to be anything other than a DJ or a program director in a radio station, you better figure out how to handle the sales side of things. And that's when my career really took off, because I kind of took to that pretty well, and was very fortunate to work for some good people and learned a lot of stuff, and, had a lot of good experience, and basically wound up running some pretty big radio stations in the Southeast for a limited partnership, U.S. Broadcasting. We had stations in Montgomery, Macon, Salinas, California, and I was basically the vice president of that group until I decided that it was, I was in my mid-30s and had just remarried, and decided that if I was ever going to do it on my own, it was time. And we started looking for radio stations to purchase. And when we couldn't buy the one in my wife's hometown, which is Greenville, Alabama, we moved up to Talladega, Alabama, and bought a station there from a guy by the name of Joe Woodard, and who I had met at an NAB convention out in San Francisco about 6 months before, and got to know a little bit. And basically the rest is history. We bought that station in 1992, grew it, bought some more stations, and in 2012 decided it was time to get out and sold them all.
Wow. Wow. What was it that told you it was time to get out?
Well, it was several things. The first was that, I had come to the point to where the radio business was just consuming my life. I mean, I had no life balance, I guess is what people call it today. And, if the transmitter went off at 1 a.m. in the morning at one of the stations, it was me that had to go take care of it, and it was constantly always like that. Our children had kind of grown up and had not shown a lot of interest in moving into the business. So there was really no reason to continue along that path. A lot of owners back in that time were, passing stations to their children to run and operate. And we didn't see that as being a viable solution for us. And we just basically had it. The business model in my mind is not as good as it once was. And although there are a lot of people that still do well in radio, they're primarily large corporations now that have formed out of consolidation. And single station owners or individuals like myself and my wife, those opportunities just aren't as good. If you've done anything in business lately, it's hard to borrow money, and it's even harder to borrow money to buy a radio station because banks don't understand them, and they just don't loan money on them, and it's just an impossible business model to work with unless you have a lot of financial backing.
Gotcha. So you went to the roulette wheel and you spun the wheel and you said, okay, I've sold my radio station, and I'm going to open a series of women's boutiques, or I'm going to open a series of fast food stores with gas stations, or I'm going to go into the streaming business. I mean, come on. Where did this concept come from of going into the streaming business?
Well, the first thing that I decided, long before we sold the stations, was that I was too young and that I still wanted to work. Regardless of what the financial outcome of the sale was, I knew I wanted to still do something. We talked about a lot of different things, but obviously media is my background. It's what I know how to do. And it's the one thing I felt fairly confident in that I could go do something with, whether that be work for someone else or, do something myself. We've made a home here in Anniston. We've lived in this area for almost 25 years now. And we decided we didn't want to relocate. My folks or my family's from the Carolinas up near Charlotte, and my wife's family is in Greenville, but both her parents have passed away. So there really wasn't any reason for us to relocate. My son at the time was a student at Jacksonville State University, and we just decided that, we needed to do something here. So we basically moved
so
on.
You're in Anniston, Alabama, which is right next to the edge of the earth. I know because I've been there.
Yep.
And you said, oh, let's embrace this brand new technology.
Well, I stumbled across streaming video as what we defined in the radio industry as a non-traditional revenue source back in 2011. I actually saw an ad in a trade publication for one of the TriCaster models and started investigating it. And before I knew it, I had borrowed and went and spent about $100,000 getting cameras and a TriCaster and some other things to actually be able to go out and do high school football games. And we thought, well, hey, this is kind of a natural for a radio station.
Right.
And we did that. And, I knew from the beginning, Tom, that I was on to something. So the one decision that I made early on when we started talking about selling the stations is I told my wife, I said, I'm not selling any of the internet stuff because we're going to break that out. And if we don't really decide we want to do something else, this is a basis upon which we can start another company. And that's basically what happened.
Yeah, I'm showing the folks that are watching what happened. Holy cow!
That happened. What you're seeing there, the large production trailer, that actually happened last year. We ordered that custom built. I wish I had some photos of the inside to send you, but I'll be honest with you, it's not totally complete on the inside yet because we got it a week into football season, and instead of getting the cabinets and stuff built for it that we actually want to have inside of it, because the company that built the trailer could not do the cabinets the way I wanted them done, we just put up folding tables, and it's still that way.
I knew you were going to say folding tables. I just knew it.
Absolutely.
That is just classic.
And it's worked well. I mean, there's no issues with, but I mean, we want to hang monitors on the wall and the whole 9 yards. So it's like going into, one of the other big company trailers, and it will be when we're finished with it. It's just, we haven't found the time. We've been so busy doing things that we just haven't been able to get it finished, but it's on the drawing board. It should be done before our first football game on August the 19th.
All right. Well, you notice the big FNN on the side.
Yep.
And none of those are your initials.
No.
So tell me, what is FNN? Is that what your radio station was? WFNN?
Nope. FNN is just something we came up with back from the beginning. It's been that from the beginning. We came up with the name Friday Night Network. What are we going to call this thing? And fortunately for me, we decided early on that it was not going to be branded in any way with the radio stations because we wanted to be able to go out and do things with it and it be its own brand. And basically, it's been that since day one.
And what I'm showing here is a clip, a still image of one of your basketball games.
Right. That was a game that we did over at Alexandria High School a couple of years ago that went down to a buzzer beater.
Oh, wow. I like the score bug up at the top too. Now, all right. So a typical game like that, how many cameras are you running? I mean, what's the setup on something like that?
For that particular game and most basketball games, we do a 3-camera shoot. We try to get one elevated at midcourt some way, maybe one at the other end of the baseline as far as, elevated to show the floor. And then we'll try to get one that kind of runs the sideline or baseline, depending upon what kind of gymnasium you're in. It's the interesting thing about doing shoots at a high school level, Tom, is, it's kind of like that old Forrest Gump statement. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You have to be very adaptable.
So you guys are doing high school basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you're doing high school football.
Obviously.
Last year, how many football games? No, how many years have you been streaming football? Let's just talk football for a second.
First year was 2011.
Okay.
I think we did 8 games that first season.
Okay.
Last year on 2 platforms, we did 27 games. And this year on 3 platforms, we'll do 43 games.
Now, platform, that means you've got 3 trailers?
Well, we have we have 2 trailers, and the third platform is kind of a single camera laptop kind of deal that we're doing in conjunction with the NFHS for folks that are familiar with those people. They're the Play on Sports folks.
Gotcha. So you've got the 2 big productions, and then you've got a budget production.
Yes. Well, okay. The big trailer is the major production, and because of our switch from another software provider or hardware provider to the vMix platform, this year our main production off the big trailer that you saw earlier we've got the ability to go up to 7 cameras without.
Gotcha.
FNN2 production, we have the ability to go up to 3 cameras.
Okay. Okay. That's cool. That's cool.
And then we do single camera on the other one.
Right. Right. Awesome. Awesome. So, okay. So you got basketball, you got football. So what are you getting? A couple of hundred views?
Well,
I already know the answer to that question, but I just had to prompt it.
Well, it's a funny story because you and I were talking about this earlier today. I think there are some basic principles, especially in the media business, that you have to adhere to. And the first principle is you better have a product somebody wants. And when I mean, and when I say somebody, I mean more than 1 or 2 people.
Right.
Of course, we all know in Alabama the popularity of football. So we kind of knew that this would be a pretty big deal at some point. Back in 2011, when we started, we didn't even have 4G in our marketplace. In fact, I think we were just on the verge of getting 3G into the marketplace. So I know our first games, you couldn't watch them on a phone because the bandwidth just didn't allow it. It'd buffer like every 10 seconds. But so we were basically a computer, laptop wired CPU type deal as far as being able to view it. Our first game we did, Tom, back on September the 10th of 2011, I think we had 19 people watch. I was devastated. I mean, I was absolutely devastated.
Oh, you were devastated. I'd be excited if I had
well,
19 people watching. That'd be great.
Well, see, this was my first foray into this thing. And, I'm used to running radio stations that have thousands of people listening. And I'm thinking, I did all of this for 19 people.
And I know what your wife is saying. She's saying, you spent all this time and all this money and you were away from me this long for 19 people?
For 19 people. And, I mean, we worked so hard, setting this thing up. We didn't know what we were doing. I mean, it was just, in fact, to kind of cap it all off, we had a camera on a tripod down on the sidelines, a brand new Sony NX cam, and there was no wind all day. And all of a sudden, a gust of wind comes up, blows it over, and breaks the LCD monitor off of it. Very first game. First game. Talking about, and I mean, from that point on, the day was a bust, Yeah. But, those things happen. But anyway, you live and you learn. But we have gone from 19 people the first time. The positive side of this is a growing platform for anybody that wants to do this kind of stuff.
Yes.
But we have gone from 19 people in our first game. Last year we did 27 games and we had over 93,000 viewers just during the live streams.
Awesome.
When you add in the YouTube views and the minutes and stuff, I mean, the numbers are just, pretty staggering.
Right. Compared to 19.
Really
yeah.
We really think with the platform we're going to this year and the number of games we're going to do, we'll be very surprised if we don't eclipse 150 to 175,000.
That's awesome. Jim, now you mentioned phones, because I think that's a key element, especially in live video today, is folks that they got the phone with them. Their computer doesn't travel with them. It might if it's a laptop, but here's a computer right here. Do you have the analytics to know how much of your audience is watching on a phone?
We do. We're getting some of it through Google, and we're getting some of it from DeCast.
Okay.
Who is, somebody obviously you're familiar with.
Right.
And we're always looking for ways to get more analytics. But we do know that now over 50% of our audience is on a smartphone or a tablet.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, if you stop and think about it, it's while the numbers are kind of amazing, it's really not amazing because let's face it, we're all attached at the hip to our phones nowadays. So, the first place you're going to go to probably watch something that you really want to watch is your phone. And if it's something that you want to see on a bigger screen, then you migrate to either a desktop or even your television.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to watch football on a phone. But if that's my only option, I'll do it. ESPN is making everything that they broadcast now available on the app. Do you have an app?
Yes, we do. We rolled out our app at the start of football season last year, and we have everything that we do accessible through that app.
You mean I can download your app onto my phone and watch games on my phone through your app?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can watch, and you can switch between the games on the app. So let's say FNN is at one game and you're at that game, so maybe you're watching that game live, but you want to see maybe a replay we do of something so you can get a better look at it. And at the same time, FNN2, our secondary platform, is at another game and you want to find out what's going on with that game. Well, it's just, one tap and you're looking at the other game. It's like switching channels on television.
That is amazing. That is awesome. I am all over that. I'm loving that. If I had two shows, I'd have an app so I could do that.
And we have all of our YouTube stuff accessible through the app as well. So if there's anything that we're doing with video on demand and you want to go find a game and maybe show somebody something that you're sitting with or something like that, you can do that as well. And of course our website, which is basically the roadway to everything that we do.
All right, now the trailers and the equipment and the app and the numbers and all this is great, but who's paying for it? Oh, that's right. You are independently wealthy and you're just doing this out of the goodness of your heart.
No, I'm afraid not, Tom. Our product is an advertising-based product. We go out and sell advertising to businesses in our community and our region of the state that are familiar with what we do, and basically bring them on board much like a TV channel does.
So you already had all these folks in your Rolodex. Not that anybody uses a Rolodex anymore, but some people might. You already had all these folks in your Rolodex from your days in the radio business.
Correct. And I would tell anyone that is looking or interested in doing what I've done here, there are two things that I think are critical in having success or in the success that we've had to this point.
Pay attention, folks. Here it is, right here.
One is I already had a 20-year running history in the marketplace in the advertising community.
Yes, sir.
I did not have to go out and develop credibility.
Right.
And there were a lot of people, even though they knew me, they weren't necessarily sold on the technology 3 and 4 years ago.
Right.
So I had a lot of educating to do.
Yes. And
it's taken a while to get some of those people, and some of those people I still don't have.
Sure.
You're not going to sell everybody.
Right.
But the other thing is I had the ability to a large part fund this enterprise for a period of time.
Right.
Without having to go to the bank and borrow, $200,000-$300,000.
Right. Right.
So, those were the two things that were important in what we've been able to do.
Well, a lot of the folks that watch this show do streaming either as their bread and butter business or as something that they do kind of as a professional hobby. And one of the questions that I get a lot Jim, is how do you decide what to charge in either in an ad-based system or in a fee-based system? And we haven't talked about fee-based systems yet. But are you using kind of the radio model in terms of your advertising rates?
Well, I think in developing rates, you have to kind of know what the marketplace bears.
Okay.
And, that's really not difficult for anyone to figure out if you just, know somebody in business that buys advertising, and you wanted to try to figure it out. The first place I would go would be to one of my local car dealers that I know. And I'd ask them, I'd say, well, how much do you pay for an ad on radio station X, Y, and Z?
Right.
And if there's a local TV station, how much do you pay to be there? And, what do you pay for a quarter page in the newspaper?
Right.
And then you just kind of do a little homework and do some averages. And, one of the things, Tom, that I think has helped us be successful beyond the things that we've already talked about is we are a niche product. Nobody else does what we do. My only competition is me and the dollar.
No, your competition is radio. Your competition is TV. Your competition
Absolutely.
is
That's the
newspaper and
dollar.
magazines.
Yeah, that's the dollar. There is a pie out there.
That's right.
So much pie in it.
Right.
And that's my competition is can I convince someone that's, shoveling out some of that pie that they should shovel some of it toward me instead of shoveling it somewhere else.
Right. So most of your advertisement, is that a video, a commercial like you would see on TV?
Yes.
Okay.
Although we have started doing some things with so many people now are familiar with, what a website banner looks like. So we've actually done some website looking banners as graphics, like for 10 to 15 seconds on screen during telecast.
Right.
That's been successful for us. And then of course there's the things you can always do in any type of broadcast. You can, sell things like replays, starting lineups,
right.
Halftime stats,
Right.
It doesn't matter how you do it. You can sell those things.
Right. Yeah, I remember, back in the soccer days, we put a camera behind the soccer goal, and we sold a sponsorship to it. It was called the goal cam.
Right.
And I got $1,000 sponsorship just for that camera. And boy, it was
every
great.
time it popped up, that guy got a graphic on the screen with it.
He did.
He was probably thrilled.
He said he could watch his website hits by time of day, and he could tell when the soccer match was on, because all of a sudden there would be a spike in hits on his website. I loved it.
Well, I think another one of the things that's helped our business model is we live in a society now where dollars invested have to be accounted for.
That's right.
One of the things that
That's
I
right.
think is really a positive about what we do is, generally speaking, if you advertise with us on a football game on Friday, Monday morning, I can tell you how many people saw it. That's
right.
not something the TV station can do. That's not something the radio stations can do. And to a large degree, it's not something a newspaper can do.
Yep.
And that's probably a big selling point for us.
But that's a two-edged sword, because those statistics can say, yeah, of these 93,000 folks that watched us last year, 47,000 of them were within 50 miles of us.
True.
And the other,
really,
the other 46,000 were somewhere else.
That's another thing we're capable of doing with our analytics is we can geographically tell you, not down to the community, but pretty much to a region,
Right.
Where our viewership is coming from.
Right.
And about 90% of our viewership is within our region. So,
oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good number. That's
Yeah.
a good number.
Birmingham pretty much gets tagged for our stuff.
Okay.
for our region. So most of our stuff shows as being in the Birmingham region of Alabama.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now you're getting some great audiences then. This is really really cool. Now tell me, you and I could talk high school football and high school sports forever, but there's something that you've just recently started it's still sports sort of. I guess you can call race car drivers athletes, but you've started a new thing called the Alabama Racer.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Well, one of the things that we have learned in developing this company is that there's only a certain period of time during the year where high school sports is really profitable for us.
Right.
So we've started looking at other things that we could, do that kind of bounce off what we already know how to do.
Right.
And one of those things for me was a weekly racing show centered on racing in the state of Alabama. I couldn't find anything like it out there, and I certainly knew how to do it from my own background. Being from the Carolinas, I grew up loving stock car racing and NASCAR, and that was one of the key reasons we actually bought the radio station in Talladega, was because we were able to develop a relationship with the NASCAR track there, and we knew we could parlay that into some pretty good revenue a couple of times a year. So it was just kind of a natural thing for me to take a look at doing this. And, we started back in April, and we're up to several thousand viewers each Thursday night now at 8:00 when we run it for the first time, and we recycle it a couple of times over the weekend. FNN actually has a 24/7 channel that we run on the internet that we show replays of stuff we've done and, first run stuff. And then, of course, live things as we do those as well. So it's kind of our own 24/7 television channel. And we decided to develop this show, and, I looked around for maybe somebody to host it, and, I just kind of can't, because I didn't really want to do it myself. I didn't really think I was the right person to do it. But it just got to the point where it was time to get it done. I had sold some stuff on it, and I just made the decision, heck, I'm just going to do it myself until I find somebody that I think will do it better than I can do it. And the rest is kind of history. People love me doing it. Most of the folks in my part of the state were raised listening to me on the radio every morning for 20 something years. And, it's just worked out,
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so you guys actually built a green screen studio in your studio.
We did. We actually did that long before we started talking about doing this show. When we actually moved into this building, we decided it was something that we needed to be able to do certain types of shows that we had in our mind we might do. So while we were doing the construction, we went ahead and built this thing, and we really hadn't used it much, Tom, to tell you the truth, for a couple of years. And, we use it every week now to do the show. So there you see a still. That's Brett Holmes. He's a local racer from down the road in Munford that's got his ARCA career started, and he was a guest on the show. You see that there on the screen, and of course that's me to the left. And we had a custom live set done for it that I think the guy did a really, really nice job on. It's nice and bright and colorful. There's screens that we use, and we produce every bit of this with vMix.
Well, that's a good choice.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I'm a huge Martin Sinclair fan. I have a ton of respect for what he's done and what he's continuing to do. And I think he's got a very, very bright future in front of him, regardless of what he decides to to do from this point forward. He should be extremely proud of what he's done with vMix.
I think so too. And, you know, Martin and I are cousins.
Well, you keep selling that, and I don't know what your stock is in the deal, but you and Martin are about as kin as you and Tom.
Yeah, I think half of Alabama is kin, and certainly anybody with the last name Sinclair is kin. we know that. We just have to all go back to Scotland sooner or later.
But you know, back to vMix.
Yeah,
it's just an incredibly impressive product. You know, I have agreed with you from day one. It's way underpriced. You know, and
it's great value. Yeah,
it is an extremely great value. And I can tell you, I had some stuff that cost a lot more, and without throwing anybody under the bus, I sold it all. And I am a vMix guy. I mean, we have, you know, built new PCs and all this other stuff, and everything that we do now is on a vMix platform. Everything.
It makes sense. Yep.
And it's only going to get better because, you know, Martin is just committed to continuing to make the product more user friendly. He listens to what people want and finds a way to try to give it to them most of the time. And I'm incredibly impressed. You know, I've had the good fortune, Tom, in my life of meeting a lot of people who have made a lot of money doing things related to the media industry. And I can tell you there are a few people I'm in awe of. I'm in awe of what Martin Sinclair has done and is doing.
Woo-hoo. The check is in the mail. Woo! Yeah. Oh goodness, that's great. That's great. I wholeheartely agree. Yeah. No, I can't wait to see what's
next.
That
there are not other good products out there.
Sure.
I'm just telling you from a user's perspective, vMix has just got it going on.
But Jim, it's not like buying a phone or a soda. I mean, a soda, if I don't like it, I'll buy a different one tomorrow. My phone, if I don't like it, when my contract expires, I won't get it. But if you buy something like vMix and you're going to build around it, you're going to spend way more money building around it than you spent on the vMix part of it.
Absolutely.
And I think it's the right heart to build around. And I think it's not just the heart for today. I think it's the heart for the future too. So anybody that's thinking, "Wow, I want to spend $3,000 to $5,000 doing something and getting a professional level broadcasting system in," vMix is going to be the right base to start that all on. There's no question in my mind about that.
Well, and the flip side of that, Tom, is you don't have to spend $30,000 to $50,000 anymore to get it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I tell people that talk to me about this all the time is, there was a time, and it wasn't that long ago, if you really wanted to do it well, that's the kind of money you had to spend just to have a platform.
Sure.
But now with vMix and the way hardware technology has advanced and to some degree decreased in price, it's just so easy now for somebody to take, $5,000-$10,000 and actually do a decent job.
Yep. And you can hook it up to your pickup truck. Yep.
Well, you won't hook that trailer up for $10,000, but
no, right. I was going to say, if it's $10,000, I'll take two. Thank you.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. So, all right, Jim. So you cut your teeth on high school sports, mm-hmm. and you've started your first in-house production.
Right.
What's next?
Boy, Tom,
can you share that without?
Well, I'll be honest with you. The answer from my desk is I don't know. With the subcategory of I have some ideas that I would like to do.
Yep.
But they all require me in investing in and counting on other people. And that's the one thing, or that's one of those things that got me out of the radio business.
Okay.
Is you know, I told my wife when we started this company, I said, I do not want this to get to something to where, you know, I've got to have 10 or 15 employees that I pay every day to be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish.
Right.
So, you know, I may be at a point to where I can't do a lot more than what I'm doing.
I love it.
And that's a hard pill for me to swallow because I've never been that kind of person.
Yep.
I've always been one that liked to press the envelope and say, well, you know, I can go do that.
Yep.
But, you know, I'm getting to the point in my life and at my age that, you know, I need to accept the fact that, you know, maybe I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and doing that well and continuing to improve upon that is supposed to be good enough.
Yep. I'm going to show a little. This is the FNN website, which you can go to by what is it? FNNnetwork.com, Jim?
That's it. Yeah.
FNNnetwork.com. And they've done a great job on the website and have done what I think are outstanding graphics all the way through.
Yeah, we do all our stuff in house. I do most of it. My son helps me with some of it, and you know, it's something graphics is something we really enjoy doing. So if anybody that's watching is, you know, needs some help in that area, you know, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. What you see there on the screen or what just came up was the football magazine publication that we do every year. But we do all this stuff in-house and, you know, would love to help anybody that needs the help.
There you go. There you go. That's awesome. Jim, it has been a treat to have you on the show. Well worth waiting for, don't you think, folks? You know, sometimes it's like a fine wine, you know, it just.
Well, you know, Tom, you and I are kind of a couple of oldies but goodies at this, and we could probably sit for a day and talk about this industry and where it's going. But, you know, the one thing that I will tell anybody that's got an inkling of doing it is, you know, man, get out there and go for it, because we are just on the tip of the iceberg here.
Right.
You know, I equate this industry right now and where it is to the early days of Apple. And I really believe that this is an emerging technology that is only going to continue to explode. And I think if you're willing to work hard and get out there and hustle and do some stuff and think outside the box and create opportunities for yourself, you can be well rewarded.
This is the beginning.
It is
the beginning.
I mean, you know, we're in the Adam and Eve days of what we're doing, and I can see myself just from what we've been able to do and accomplish, that this is just the tip of the iceberg. And you know, get out there and get into it while the getting's good, because you know, just like everything else in life, once people figure it out, once the average Joe and bean counter gets out there and figures it out, you know, they'll swarm in and jump, you know, grab rights and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, it's a great industry, and the technology's getting better and better every day. And, you know, I mean, just look at NDI. You know, I'm not as big a fan of it as Tom
NDI.
is, but I will tell you that if you're a software developer and not including NDI in your bundle, you're making a mistake, because that to me is where the real future is, with all the potential for graphics and data ingestion and stuff like that. That's to me, that's where the opportunities are with NDIs in software and graphics and data ingestion into productions.
I can see, folks, that we're going to have Jim back on, because, you know, we've just skimmed the surface, as it was, skimmed the surface. But Jim, thank you for taking time. I hope you'll hang around for a few minutes for the post show, because I understand that Martin Stuckey has brought refreshments, and he does a great job with refreshments. So hold tight, and we'll be back. But didn't Jim do a really outstanding job, folks? I tell you what, there's nothing like having somebody that's got that deep level of experience to come in and to share it with us. That really was great of him. And that's Jim Jacobs at Friday Night Network. So it's FNNnetwork.com. If you want to get a hold of him, there's a contact form there. And that was cool. Now, coming up next week, we weren't able to do it today, but coming up next week, we're going to take a look at vMix.100, which is going to have the new Instagram social media application built into the vMix Social. So we'll have a full rundown on that next week, and any of the other features that were in .99 that we didn't get to, we'll talk about that. And we've also got a great announcement about the PTZ Optics line of cameras that we carry. By the way, full disclosure, I am an authorized reseller for PTZ Optics, Magwell, vMix, and several others, and design and build custom PCs that are interested, for folks that are interested in having those done for them. And you can get a hold of me, Tom, at easternshorebroadcasting.com. So with no further ado, I guess we'll say goodbye. If you've watched the whole show on YouTube after the fact, go ahead and subscribe. I mean, if you've gotten to this point, you know that you're probably hooked, so you need to go ahead and subscribe. Tune in next week, Wednesday, 3 o'clock Eastern, and we'll see you then. Take care.